will say that Bernie Sanders gave a
You guys are crazy!
You're an animal! Get a job!
You guys are crazy!
Of law enforcement. The FBI said that 2 months ago. So are we going to sit here and just try to create these cute little narratives that sound good politically, or are we going to get to the bottom of what's actually happening in the United States of America? And truth be told, the bottom of what's happening in the United States.
Representative Byron just delivered one of the most powerful truth bombs on Capitol Hill, exposing how the left twists narratives about white supremacy, law enforcement, and parents speaking up for their children. In this reaction, we break down every lie, every cover-up, and the political games being played at America's expense. Watch till the end to see how the facts destroy the left's favorite talking points.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Never a dull moment in this subcommittee. I will always say that. Let's go through a couple things. First, yeah, look, if you go back to the Buffalo shooter, which was awful for all reasons considered. Did he cite replacement theory? Yeah, he did. Did he also cite socialist theories? He most definitely did. Did he target black people? 100% he did. So if you combine all of the issues with the Buffalo shooter, you had somebody who wanted to kill black people. Obviously, that's a white supremacist move. That was his whole focus. But he also espoused ideals from the left wing of politics. Both things can occur at the same time, and they did in the Buffalo shooting. And I think the thing that's most frustrating in hearings like this is because the supposition from my colleagues is that if you are a white supremacist and all at the same time you're also somehow on the right side of politics, the Buffalo shooter actually demonstrates that's not true. That's actually not true. White supremacy is awful. Nobody should be defending it. It should always be denounced. But we also have to be careful not to just conveniently circle together our political opponents so that it makes us look good in narratives and press clippings, in hearings, or when you go to ask people for their votes in elections. We do have an issue in the United States with domestic terrorist violence. There is an issue. But it's across the political spectrum. Even the FBI, and we got some questions that we need to ask them about other things going on in the United States. But even the FBI does not categorize domestic violence based upon political viewpoints. They do not do that. I wish the news media would report it, but the FBI does not categorize it based upon political thoughts. They categorize it based purely on the violence that people inflict. These are key conditions that we have to understand if we're going to have real hearings about what must be, quote unquote, done in the United States. One other point I have to bring up, and this is with respect to my colleague who just cited the point about white supremacy infiltrating law enforcement from a report back in 2006. On October 24th, 2022, the FBI submitted to this committee, and I quote, "The FBI does not have information to support the assessment that these individuals are broadly representative of the hundreds of thousands of sworn law enforcement officers operating in the U.S. across nearly 20,000 federal, state, county, and local agencies, and available FBI reporting has not revealed an infiltration of law enforcement." The FBI said that 2 months ago. So are we going to sit here and just try to create these cute little narratives that sound good politically, or are we going to get to the bottom of what's actually happening in the United States of America? And truth be told, the bottom of what's happening in the United States is that we are making cute narratives that look good for politics and sound good in press clippings, and we are not being honest about all of the various factors that are happening in the United States, namely a major social media problem. We know about the Twitter files. Let me give you guys a preview. We're going to be talking about that in the 118th Congress. Real quick before my time expires. Because when these issues flare up in our politics and in our country, we have to be careful not to quickly assign blame to one group or another group or one side of the political aisle or another side of the political aisle. We have to get to the facts. And there's actually demonstration of that right here in this hearing. Ms. Caraballo, on page 12 and 13 of your written testimony, you painted concerned parents as having been infiltrated by white nationalists and far-right militia groups, which played a significant role in school board protests. This has not actually been my experience with concerned parents. In your testimony, you wrote that in Loudoun County, Virginia, unfounded rumors that spread in local parent groups on Facebook about an alleged trans student sexually assaulting a girl in a bathroom led to a firestorm of several heated school board protests that descended into violence. But in fact, the perpetrator, it actually turned out, had committed 2 sexual assaults at 2 different Loudoun County schools in 2021 and was arrested on October 7th, 2021 by the Loudoun County Sheriff's Office. These weren't unfounded rumors, as you suggest. It actually turns out law enforcement had to act because a sexual assault occurred. So giving this, I'm assuming that until now you were unaware of what happened here, and you're going to update your testimony for the committee. Is that correct?
Thank you, Representative. What I was referring to in terms of unfounded rumors was that the perpetrator was trans. At the time, there was no indication, and later it came out that the perpetrator would not have any trans identity. And
I'm out of time, but the only thing I'm going to say is this. This is an example of what is concerning us in America. We have to be very careful not to quickly label groups and people just because it's politically convenient, which has been one of the issues in this committee. We have to be very careful about this. We are all Americans. We do not want violence against any citizen. We want all people to be safe in America. We want all people to speak freely in America. That is the thing that will actually help us cure some of this violence extremist issues we currently have in the United States. I yield back.
Welcome back to Illuminate, the channel where truth cuts through the noise and the mainstream narrative doesn't get the final word. If you love this country, if you still believe in freedom, faith, and facts, make sure to subscribe and smash that like button right now, because what I'm about to break down will open your eyes to the real battle happening in America. Now, let's get into it. What you just heard was one of the few moments of honesty we've seen on Capitol Hill lately. A congressman finally stood up and said what most Americans already know, but the media refuses to admit: political extremism isn't confined to one side. The left loves to paint this picture that every act of hate or violence somehow connects back to conservatives, to Trump supporters, to people who simply love their country. But this congressman dismantled that narrative piece by piece. He called out the hypocrisy. He brought up the Buffalo shooter, a disgusting individual who targeted Black Americans, a true act of evil, no question about it. But what the mainstream media conveniently ignores is that this same man also expressed socialist beliefs. That's right, he wasn't your stereotypical right-wing extremist. He was a deranged individual influenced by multiple ideologies. And that's the truth the left doesn't want out there, because it shatters their one-sided narrative. The congressman made another critical point. The FBI itself doesn't classify domestic terrorism based on political views. Violence is violence. But you'd never know that if you only watch CNN or MSNBC. Those outlets twist every tragic event into a talking point to demonize conservatives, push censorship, and consolidate control over speech. Then, he dropped a bombshell. That old report the left keeps using to claim white supremacists have infiltrated law enforcement? Completely debunked by the FBI itself. They said there's no evidence of any broad infiltration of police departments by white supremacists. But does that stop the Democrats from repeating it? Of course not. They rely on these false narratives to keep Americans divided and fearful. And here's where it got even more powerful. He confronted a witness who had the audacity to label concerned parents as being infiltrated by far-right militias. You know, those same parents who show up at school board meetings demanding accountability, fighting against indoctrination, protecting their kids. The left has been calling them extremists for years now. But when this congressman brought the facts, that the so-called unfounded rumors she referenced were actually true, she had no answer. He exposed how the left manipulates the truth. A real assault occurred in Loudoun County, yet they tried to downplay it, twist it, and silence parents who dared to question their narrative. And that's the pattern we see over and over again. Whether it's the FBI, school boards, or big tech, lies and censorship are the tools they use to maintain control. This speech wasn't just about violence or extremism, it was about honesty. About confronting the fact that the biggest threat to America right now isn't just from hate-filled individuals, it's from a system that manipulates truth to serve politics. We're being told who the villains are, Patriotic Americans, parents, veterans, people who believe in God and the Constitution, while the real corruption hides behind polished press releases and fact checks. That's why channels like this exist, to illuminate the truth they want hidden, to stand up for the people who still believe in reason, responsibility, and real American values. So if you're tired of being lied to, if you want to be part of a movement that demands honesty over propaganda, hit subscribe, turn on the bell, and share this video everywhere. The fight for truth starts with all of us, and trust me, they don't want us speaking out. Because once the light shines on their lies, they lose their power. Stay sharp, stay free, and God bless America.